Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining me today is gold medalist, SwimSwam co-founder Mel Stewart, and joining us today is the new head coach at USC, Jeremy Kipp. The man.
Hey, Coleman, Mel, thanks for having me, man. Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, whoa. He wins the gold medal for best background ever. This is the best background ever. You know, we had Salo on, and Salo had some background on, and it's like his beard was, it was funky with his head, and his beard was poking out. But, yeah.
I never knew he could do a beard like that. That was amazing. That was pretty impressive.
We were all really impressed on our end as well. That was awesome.
And I was just thinking, why isn't he doing that the whole time? He should be doing that for the last 20 years or something, you know?
Yeah. I guess as a head coach, I don't know, maybe I've never understood it. I do whatever I want with my hair, and I have Mel to answer to, so
right.
He's a pretty lenient boss. I do want to go on record as saying Kipp also wins the gold medal for best homemade pancakes that I've ever had at a practice in pancakes.
Thank you.
When I came to Northwestern, you made your famous Kipcakes. Apparently, that originated at USC. Is that right?
It did on the pool deck at the pool deck at USC. That's where it came to fruition. We were kicking around. We had a really early football game when we had like 11 o'clock kickoff, and we had recruits in town. So we were trying to find a way to like cram in, like, all right, how do you get a practice in? How do you get a good breakfast in? I was like, it'd be really great if we did like a tailgate breakfast and we did pancakes or something like that. And it was like, as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, I just committed to making pancakes there. And so we figured out a way to do it. We started making pancakes. So we would run practice, and like with a half hour left, I would leave practice and I'd start like making pancakes, and we'd cook it around the deck. So the swimmers were Saturdays are traditionally pretty hard. So like the kids are like and they're looking up like, oh my God, I can't. Yeah, me and my big mouth got me to that one.
And when that originated, Megan Hawthorne, she's been your assistant at Boise, at Northwestern, and now back at USC. Was she swimming for you then?
She wasn't. Yeah, she actually probably wasn't even there yet. So I think we originated that in maybe 2011 or 2012. I think Megan, she'd probably gotten there right about 2011. So right as she was coming as a freshman.
Okay,
we
wow.
were probably starting to do that, yeah. And that was before like the Fred Tangsu. So that was the old McDonald's swim center. So we didn't have nearly the buildings and everything we had. We had the old like scoreboard. We had the old putting green out by the outfield in baseball. So it was the old pool. Yeah.
You can help us with something right now. You can tell us how to pronounce Fred's last name.
Tangsu.
Tangsu.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Coleman?
I've never tried to say the pool name.
I mean, we see it everywhere, and he's a pretty cool cat.
He's amazing.
Yeah, no, the guy looks eternally youthful, and obviously a big supporter at USC and a big supporter in swimming in general, and a man serious about his own swimming. But so have you always?
Yeah, he gets in there every day still. Yeah, he actually he still splits his time between LA, and when he's in town, he comes out and swims the Trojan Swim Club, and he's like triathlete, so he bikes and he runs, and he's a gentleman too. That the great thing about Fred is not only is he loyal, he's a Trojan. He's incredibly generous. He was a big reason why we have the new facility, but. He's a good man. He's a good family man, and he's a great guy to have around. And he's really astute in terms of like campus politics and just things that are going on that, as a swim coach, maybe you're not always really like you don't really think too much about. But he's a great friend of the program and alumni too. Yeah,
it's interesting where we are right now, because where we are right now it's not a fun place to be.
No,
going through this pandemic. We're seeing colleges getting cut, and we're seeing big programs. They've got support. They can marshal support, and they're going to do well. And in the midst of all this, you're taking over this position. This is like, this is a tough time, but it's a great moment for you. This is a big step up. I mean, it's my point is this. In the midst of all this, it's like, wow, this is like a silver lining for you.
Yeah, and truly, and Fred was one of the reasons why. Obviously, it's a dream job for me. There's a lot of reasons why I wanted to come back to USC, but Fred was a real driving force because in the initial stages, when they knew I was interested, Fred had reached out and wanted to really talk about it. And because we have a new athletic director, Mike Bone. We're coming out of a pretty rocky time at USC with admissions and things like that. I had a pretty good thing going. My family was in a good spot, and they let me. Fred let me know that, hey, Mike is going to fund this thing. Like, he's going to let you hire 4 assistant coaches. He's going to support you. Because I had asked, there's some COVID related questions about budget and stuff you have to really be upfront about. And one thing about the Trojans is there's a century of success, and that success breeds support, breeds resilience. And so Fred, because of guys like Fred and a few other alums that, like, look, you don't have to worry. We're going to support this thing. We want you to be successful. We're going to do what it takes to make sure that the Trojans come through this. So it made it really easy to say yes. I'll tell you that.
You've got the history there. This program has the tradition there, but you have to have the third leg of the stool now in college swimming. You need to have the support, and that's very clear. Everybody in swimming knows Fred, and they respect Fred, and so just very happy. And I was wondering what his role was in the background, but it sounds like he was there holding everyone's hand.
He was, and he wanted to do it right. He rallied the alumni, and he's got a lot. He's got some experience on him. He's got some years, so he's tied in with guys like John Neighbor and Bruce Furness, but he also has the ears of guys like Eric Venn and Larson Jensen, and so he really crosses the generations, and a lot of the women are really close to Fred too, and Lindsay Tanko and people like that. So when he gets behind something, and as a coach, when you hear him when he's beating your drum, you feel pretty good about being in that lineup because there's just a lot of great support.
An interesting side note is that I know he's over 60, but he looks like he's about 35.
He's in amazing shape. He's awesome. Yeah, we should all be so. But he works hard for it too. It's not like he's like he's working out every day and he's living a quality life. So he's been very successful, but he's one of those guys where he's taking time to smell the roses too. Yeah.
So now that you're back at USC, what can you do now? Are you guys in the pool at all? Or how are you handling this team effort so far?
Well, what was actually interesting was we were supposed to be at the Olympics right now, right? And so talking about support, USC had put $1 million into our a resurfacing project for the pool. So right now there's no water in our pool, in the diving well or the Peter Dale pool, right, the 50-meter. And there's a couple, they're fixing some of the pipes. So they're kind of long awaited kind of answer. So when they put water in it, the thing is going to be sparkling. And so, we've got about 13 athletes in Los Angeles. So we're kind of hopping around to different pools. I've got Chase Block and Megan Hawthorne actually in Los Angeles. I've been kind of popping back and forth between LA and Chicago. My family and I were going to move next week. We're going to make the big move next week. And then obviously we got Lee Maurer is actually here in Wilmette with me. She moves in 2 weeks. And, we just hired Kevin. And Kevin will be coming down from the Bay Area in about 2 weeks too. So it's actually kind of a perfect time not to have water in the pool. Obviously we're hosting the Olympic Games in 2028. And I don't know if you guys have seen the picture there. The Tangsu Aquatic Center is going to be the warm-up, warm-down pool for the Olympic pool, which is around our baseball field. So a lot of these upgrades, they're trying to time. They don't want to wait, 3 or 4 years because you start getting that close to the next Olympics. There's going to be a lot of construction. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on in LA. So they're trying to take care of a lot of things.
I didn't even think about that.
So again, $1 million into during this time, that was, that's a real expense, and it just shows you how much USC is supporting aquatics.
I didn't even think about that. If anybody's old enough here, I'm older than you, Jeremy. So it's like anybody old enough here needs to take something into context. The '84 Olympic Games in Los Angeles was the best games. It was the Hollywood Games. They did it the best. It was one of these games where they actually made money. Everybody loved it. Huge stars came out of it. Rowdy Gaines came out of it. The Voice of Swimming. But it's I didn't even consider that. You're helming this team on the ramp up to 2028, and that's got to have a lot of wind at your back. I know you're a great recruiter. We've heard that through the grapevine, but so you're going to have this secret sauce in your back pocket recruiting into 2028. That's got to feel good.
Oh, it's, if you've ever seen my office, hopefully I have you guys out there for maybe the LA invite next summer or something, but you come out into there's a balcony off my office that looks down into the, the '84 Olympic pool, Peter Dalen's pool. But if you look over to the right, you'll be able to look into, I think the stands are going to be so high, I'll be looking at the stands, but you'll actually be able to look down into the Olympic venue for that pool. So it's like, when you see all the pictures and everything, it's like, yeah, that's my office right there. And we're pumped. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be, Los Angeles' third Olympics, Yeah.
So, this is a homecoming of sorts for you. You were at USC for a long time before you went on to head coach Boise State and then Northwestern. Can you share, a few of your favorite stories from your first stint at USC? I mean, looking at your bio, you worked with every Olympian out of LA, right, from 20 different countries around the world. I mean, it's pretty extensive, and I'm guessing you might have a few good little goodies for us to share.
Well, the first one actually is not Olympic. The first one is more of my first year. I got there in Dave's second year, right? So I came in from Santa Barbara after 8 years there. And our first year at the NCAA championships, our men's team had scored 9 points. And I want to say we were 35th place. And it was bad. It was bad. And we knew we were rebuilding. We knew it. There were 8 full scholarships in the previous class, which out of 9.9, that's hefty. So David committed to going to a world championships or something. So, me and a couple other coaches were back at the office after NC2As, and the phone rings. This was the old office. We still had Mike Garrett as the athletic director. And Mike Garrett, for those who don't know, was a Heisman Trophy running back. He's probably about 5'8". He's built like a brick wall. He was playing football when the helmets weren't really helmets. So, he had like a broken nose, and just the nicest man, but also just a physical presence, right? So we get a phone and it's, hey, please hold for Mr. Garrett, right? So you're like, oh no. It's so Mike calls us and he's like, hey, Jeremy, did I read this right that we scored 9 points at the national championships? And I said, yeah, you got it. Yeah, that was us. And he's like, what happened? And he's like, well, we're rebuilding. He's like, listen, anything that you need, you let me know. He's like, because I want this team to win. Because he tells a story of when he went to school, there was still a PE and a survival element, right? A lot of universities used to have. So Peter Dalen, legendary swim coach, had actually taught Mike Garrett how to swim. And he's like, and one of Mike's roommates was a swimmer. They were in a lot of fraternities and stuff. So, and he said, he's like, I love swimming. He's like, I love Peter Dalen. And he's like, I want you guys to win. So you just let me know. So it was like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's like we turned on the chairs we got to win. It wasn't a threat or anything. It was just one of those it was so that was our first a real okay, we gotta get this thing going. And I think 3 years later we were in the top 4 on the women's side. We were chugging along on the men. And I think one of the great Olympic stories I think was when we were really cranking in 2012, I think, we had, Morozov was on the Russian relay. We had Clement Lefebvre was on the French relay. At the time, Ricky had graduated and was swimming with us at Trojan. And we had a German guy on the German relay. So in the finals of the Olympic free relay, we had one guy representing first, second, third, and fourth. And it was like this amazing culmination of like all these great talents really pushing. Obviously, Clement had dove in and run down Colin Jones, and which, I'm an American, so it was hard to watch, but it was our guy. So it was like, yeah, no, yeah, so, and obviously the great end leg. So that was one of the great, like, oh my God, like we put this kid in this position, and we really felt like we had done something on that relay. Obviously in Ose and Larson. I think the other fun one was in 2008 was the first trials at Omaha, right? And Larson would just come off a senior year. So Larson Jensen was training with us postgraduately. And the men's 400 free was the first night. And Larson's in the final. And, we were kind of warming him up. And he just comes over and, he says, like, we're standing there as coach. He's like, at the 150, I'm gone. He's like, if they can catch me, they're going to earn this. And we're like, and he just walked away. It was like, there was no like, are you sure you want to do that? I was like, okay, man. So good, Larson, if you don't know, he's like, and he's swimming, and we're in the bowl section at trials and all and he just takes off at the 150. I forget if he broke the American record or not, but he touched the wall, like he wins the 400 at trials, which a lot of people thought he didn't have the speed to do that. And he starts floating over the lane lines, and he comes right over the bowl, and he's doing the fight. He's like, yeah! And he's just fighting on, and and so he does the walk with John Neighbor of all people, right? John's one of the great collegiate swimmers of all time, USC Trojan. He was doing the color commentating, so he's doing the walk, and Larson's fired up, and he's like, Larson, you just set you went like 3:42 or something, or he went something fast, and he said, you set the record, you made the Olympic team. What's this mean for USA distance swimming? And he's like, oh, this is a big moment for USA swimming, and he said, but I'll tell you what, it's an even better moment for USC swimming. Fight on, baby. And you can see John was like trying to he's like, yeah, but he's trying to keep his cool. And that was one of the first, that was 2008. So that was my second year. And that was just that was pretty awesome. That was, as a swim fan, swim nerd, and just to be a part of that, you're just, a guy like that, having that kind of success was pretty epic, so yeah.
We need
That's
more
good
stories.
One, I think. I don't know. I can tell you more than one.
Here's the thing. So we get some coaches on, and their stories they're not painted quite as well. You gave us the cheers, you gave us the times, you gave us the people, you put it in context. That's exactly what we want.
And you had to know too. Larson was a real special guy. Like he, obviously he's a huge. He went on to be a Navy SEAL. He started his own venture capital. Went to Stanford MBA. He's got his own venture capital, and he's a competitor. And he just watching him work, like some of the sets they would do, especially when those lasers came out. Like we would do some suited up swims, and I don't know how much time we have. But I can tell you a set he and Ose did in 2008. This was probably about a month before trials. So the set was 1-800 on whatever. Then it was 3 400s descend. Then it was 5 200s. And for Ose, it was for Larson.
Jeremy, I think you're cutting out a little bit.
And I want to say he went like 756 in 2008. I mean, there was hardly anybody going under 8 minutes. Ose had gone 749. I'm sorry, 749, and just and then the 3 400s they descended. The last Larson went 352. Ose went like 348 from a push. Yeah, no, this is and we're watching this set, and it's hard, you're just as a coach, you got to be all right, now you got to do your better turns. You know what I mean? You got to breathe them into your turns. These guys are on the American, and then in the 5 200s best average, Larson held 151s for a push. And then Ose went 148 on the dive. He had never really been under, I think he'd been under 150 once, And then the 4 100s were best. I think they dove the last one. Ose was a 40 high, and Larson was 51 the last one, which for him was a really fast swim. And this practice took an hour and a half. There's a lot of rest, and it was just these guys were going off. And a a couple lanes over, Rebecca Sony was doing best average 50, holding like 35s, 50 breaststroke, just pumping doors. And, you know, we were really rolling, you know, and it was like, and you looked over and you had Hardy and some other people doing some amazing things, and you turn and you're like, it was an amazing set. But that distance set was like, it was pretty cool. Like, that was pretty special. I tell that story all the time because it's hard to believe if you weren't there, you know? Yeah, it was pretty cool.
We talked to Rebecca just the other day, and it was funny hearing her, because we had talked to Hardy the day before, and we talked, and Hardy was like, oh yeah, Yulia and Rebecca and I would get up all the time and race, and they never beat me. and then we talked to Sony, and she's like, well, I mean, yes, she's right. I never beat Hardy. And we did get up and have some pretty epic battles, but most of the time, like, they were sprinting, and I was doing distance sets with like Ose and Larson, and but I'm a female breaststroker, and they're male freestylers.
Did you talk about Ose at all? Like Ose, we found out talking to Ose that he'd been under 50 in the 100-meter free.
Yeah,
I was like, wait a minute, stop.
She loved to work. Like, that was her. You know, she came out of Scarlet and. Had he been under 50? Okay, sorry. So anyway, so Reb was she was a workhorse, and like, you'd see Hardy do things in practice. I mean, we would do dive 100s breaststroke. They'd suit up and they'd go 106. You know, like in practice, like they'd be doing these sprint sets, and you're just like, wow. And it's like, you feel bad because, like, if she goes 106 and Reb goes 107, and, you know, Efimova goes 107 or 108, you're like, you just got smoked, and you just went like the 10th fastest time in the world right now. You know, so it was pretty. You had a lot going on. I think we had, you know, Chanteau was there. And I remember Eric Chanteau. He did an IM set with Kipcakes. Like, Eric at the time was moving more into his 100 and 200 breaststroke. Eric at the time had, you know, come out of Auburn and was a great 400 IMer. And he's like, you know, I like to do a few sets. I want to work, you know, so let me do an IM set. And we put him in an IM set. I think our band check was coaching. And like, Katinka is, but she could just do things in practice. Like, and she rolled over her. She ran him down and like rolled over Eric. And you know, Eric's a funny guy. So he gets out. He's like, man, he's like, I have not been beat by a girl since I was about 11 or 12 years old, man. He's like, that was brutal. Like, that was hard to take. That's like, well, you know, I don't know what to tell you, buddy. That's the Iron. That was before she was the Iron Woman, you know. So yeah, that was so anyway. So like, during that time, you just, you know, and the college team at the time was becoming more and more relevant. Like, our men's team had kind of, you know, fallen a little bit, and the men's team, we started getting guys like Chris Quintero, Clement Lafer, Dimitri. Obviously, Morzov was a real game changer. You know, kid was 19 out of high school, and you know, and his story is amazing, right? Like, he came over from Russia as a freshman in high school, didn't speak English, and was at Torrance. He was in Southern California, and a lot like Lenny Kreisenberg, very similar to Lenny's story. And getting Vlad and watching him grow into the man that he's become, and just a superstar, you know. But he, you know, guy never missed a practice, you know, just was so focused on what he wanted to do in water. I mean, when he went to set, it was really cool, but it was like, none of us were really surprised, because he had really gone all in, and you know, he'd gone pro, you know, after his junior year. So it's like, we had won the Pac-12 title, I think the year after, I forget, but it was like, Vlad had gone pro, so we were always like, oh man, what if, you know, we would have. But again, that's the thing. It's like, you don't want to hold a guy like that back. Like, you know, go get it. You know, you have such a finite amount of time to strike while the iron is hot. So, so the college team, you know, then we get guys like Santo Condarelli, Dylan Carter, Reed Malone, and just, you know, that success starts breeding success. And it just, you know, you roll. And then the women's time at the same time, obviously, Megan Hawthorne was a captain of a women's team that got third. You know, I think we had 3 or 4 girls up in the final of the 400 IM, you know, in her senior year. And we were just, it's a lot of fun to be that good. I mean, it's a lot of work, obviously, but you know, but USC is that kind of place where you can get that kind of greatness going, and that's the goal, you know, to kind of keep it going and to rebuild the men's team a little bit. We have a lot of guys redshirt last year. I think and we got really that. I think we're gonna make some noise this year. If there is this year, of course, right? So.
Don't say that.
I know. I'm optimistic. I'm planning on running a practice like August 10th. That's when our move-in date is. So we'll have a captain's practice, and all the signs we're getting at USC right now. The football team is there practicing. Women's soccer's there. All the teams are starting to kind of report and everything. So, I think there's a real desire, to really make this work and to make it happen. So, and I know our athletes, they're all in. So if it's online or hybrid, at least be there and training through the fall. I mean, no competition would hurt a little bit, but at the same time, as I told a lot of people, like, look, our head's going to be down anyway until January. Like we're not going to peak up. We got a lot to do. We got a new team to form. We got new coaches. You got to get to know Lee and Megan and Kevin and Lee's fired up. I think you guys are having her on, right? And he's fired up, and I get phone like, let's get so we're excited.
Yeah, I had Lee on yesterday, and you can, from talking to her, you can tell she's a lifelong competitor. She wants to win no matter what, which is awesome. But she retired from Stanford, and she said it was one of the hardest decisions she'd ever made. But you pulled her out of retirement, which is awesome because it seems like she is a real asset.
She's amazing. When I was at Northwestern, I know she was in the neighborhood. Her kids were swimming with the club team, and I was always like, we would chat every now and then. So I was like, hey, you want to come out and do a camp, or come out and let's do a clinic. Come out and just because people, Bob Groseth, when he was around, he'd stop by and come in, and I was like, just come in and get your fix, come in, like let's run a group and because you obviously when you're interviewing people who are listening, when you realize when she goes, it's all in. It's like you're either in or you're out. And when she's in, she's in. And I one of the things about when she called, she's like, what do you think? And I was like, what do I think about what? She's like, what do you think about me at SC? And I just started going, oh, what do I think? I was like, are you kidding me? And she's like, yeah. And, she had some real questions because, she wants to win, and she's like, winning trophies is just, she's like, I don't know if it's right or not. That's just how I'm wired. I want to win and I want to be someplace I can really compete. And I think her thing is hovering around trophies. Right. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm about. Let's do it. And I am a little worried. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Spinal Tap, with her and Megan, when we start getting going, it's one of those things most most amplifiers only go to 10, but ours go to 11. Lee and Megan are going to take this thing to a 13 or 14. They're going to blow the top off of this place. So I hope Chase and Kevin are ready. So we have staff meetings. I kind of look around at them and go, you guys better bring it, man. We're not going to slow down for you to keep up. So yeah.
I was on the national team for years with Leah, and she was always losing her voice. She was always hoarse. So yeah, the volume's incredible. But you're taking over a big tradition, and I know you're proud. I know you're excited, but it's got to feel like a lot on your shoulders, and so heading into your first season, how do you manage that responsibility?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of pressure. I think most of us in the business feel a lot of pressure. I mean, you've got the lives of the 18, 22-year-olds in your hand here, and there's great responsibility. I don't care what level you are. At USC, I mean, there is a lot of there's 10 national championships, 9 on the men, 1 on the women, and you're taking over for Doc Salo, and is one of the great. He's in the Hall of Fame. Who followed Mark Schubert, who's got his own and county. I feel really lucky though, because I do have those guys in my Rolodex, and I can go and talk to them and take them out to breakfast. And obviously I got to spend some time with Peter Dalen before he passed too. He would come around and just a gentleman, and he was always coaching. He was always coaching. And one of the things that I think Peter passed on, right? But you do have to realize that, swimming is never going to love you back. And it's all about the people around you that are going to love you and who you love, right? And I think that's kind of a little bit of a tangent. Peter looked me straight in the eye and said, you got to love swimming, but just realize it's never going to love you back. Don't ever put in, don't go for it expecting some kind of, love back, right? And especially where there's a lot of pressure, there's also a lot of hate, right? There's a lot of people like wishing you not well. So, which kind of makes it fun. And, in terms of what I'm going to do my first year, I'm going to enjoy it. I love Southern California. I love everything about USC. Obviously, I'm at the library right now, right? And the campus is one of the prettiest campuses in the country. It's a classic brick, campus. The team has been really both programs, both the men and women have really been hungry, and we've had some great meetings. This women's team is really, really good. And I got the sense they felt like, had the season not ended, they were going to do something pretty incredible. They were set for a trophy, and they're hungry. This team is really hungry too, because they realized hey, last year was a down year. That's not going to define us. That's not who we are. And so I'm just going to really enjoy getting to know them and helping draw. The thing about coaching is a lot like, sometimes you have to stoke a fire. Sometimes you have to create a fire where maybe the one doesn't exist. And then you have to really, you've got to take care of it. You've got to stoke the fire, and everyone's got their own kind of stoke. And so I'm going to really enjoy kind of getting to know the athletes and finding out, what their fire is all about, because we want them to shine bright. It's Hollywood, and the lights are bright. And we want them to be a star in their own life. And, I'm going to surf a lot too. I'm an avid surfer. I haven't had a chance to surf in a few years. And I picked up skiing and snowboarding in Boise and have done some lake surfing out here in the Midwest. But I'm an avid surfer, looking forward to teaching my sons how to surf. And my wife's from California, and I've got sisters in Southern California too. So, for us, it's a lot there's a big family pull, And, when I was telling a few people, it's who you have around you in life is really important, my mom passed away 6 years ago. So my sisters are kind of where I grew up and where I'm from. I want to be around them and be around their kids. And I'm going to enjoy that. And I don't think to me, that's life, right? That's it's enjoying those moments. The coaching part is I'm really lucky. I feel really lucky that I get to do what I do, and to do it at USC is talk about a blessing. That pool and every day, when you walk into those gates every day and the Olympic flag is flying, and the kids are out there on the deck, and it's the horse around and everything. It's is there a better place to be? To me, I don't think so. So I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to roll with it. We're going to be good too. I'm not just coming in here going hey, let's have fun. This is we're coming in to do something, and I'm fired up, and I think the coaches are fired up. And so I think the athletes are fired up, and, so that's kind of how I'm going to handle it, I guess. I don't know if I answered your question there, but,
We're down to about 5 minutes. And, the one thing about big programs, oftentimes they're in small college towns. You are not. You're in LA. And in terms of this lifestyle, are you going to be making a long commute in? Are you close to are you going to be close to USC? Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll tell you. So when we first moved there, we had our first house was in Westchester, which is out by LAX, which is this really cool area, West LA by Playa Vista. And, we had our kids there, and the house was, I think, 1,300 square feet. And I don't want to tell you what we paid and what we sold for it, but then we moved down to Torrance in the South Bay, where we had a house, and then we left shortly after. So we're kind of we're looking in the Palos Verdes, Redondo Beach, that South Bay. That's just a pretty area. It's we're beach. My wife went to school in Santa Barbara, so there's a couple rules all right, if we're going to LA, we're going to the beach. We're not going to be in the city. We're not going to be in the valley. We're going to the beach. So Palos Verdes, that's where we're going to live for the first year. And then I think my wife also taught there in the high school system. She was a high school teacher there. So, she won't have a commute, and the kids won't, and the schools are great. And
you clicked out there for a little bit, but I think you said it's about a 40-minute commute, correct?
Yeah, it's about a 40-minute commute, and what makes it, it's a straight shot, so like the Californian sketch. All right, what you got to do is you got to get on the 110, take the 110 south, get off at the PCH, take the PCH
you got to do the accent.
Yeah, right now. So
no, don't go there.
You can do the 405 if you have to, but you take the 110. But the last drive is kind of through the hill. If you ever seen like Palos Verdes in that section of the South Bay, it's really windy and it's such a pretty area. So you're kind of winding back towards the beach. So sun will be dropping over the ocean, and it's a nice way to decompress from the day. Yeah.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing as a swim coach, you're going to be coming in a little bit earlier and heading out a little bit earlier. Are you going to hit traffic too bad?
No, in the morning you can drive as fast as you're comfortable, right? In Los Angeles, in Southern California, it's all about the averages. I'm not encouraging anyone to speed here, right? But like when you can go fast, you should go fast, because there's gonna be times when you're going slow, right? So you have to average 65 for the day if you can, right? So in the mornings it's not. No, you can fly if you want. I like to enjoy my coffee. I like to listen to, one of the things I did really miss. I love sports radio. I love sports talk radio. And when I got to Boise, Idaho. Like my commute went from like 30 minutes to like 5 minutes. So I'd start listening to a story, and then I'm in the parking lot, and then I'd actually sit in my car for like 20 minutes listening to like an interview or something like that. So I had to be sitting in my car anyway. So I love the sports talk. And LA is, like I think Mel mentioned it. We got the Dodgers, we got the Rams, Chargers. There's still Lakers, Clippers, Trojans. I think there's another university in town too. I'm not familiar with it, but but it's a great sports town, and so there's a lot of good sports talk.
He froze on us a little bit. Is he there? Is he back? Our connection's going to go out a little bit. We're down to under a minute. Do you have any parting thoughts?
I really appreciate you guys taking the time. I mean, and I think parting thoughts is what I would tell anybody when I'm telling the athletes is, it's such a blessing to be in our sport, and I'm really glad what you guys are doing. I think I tune in every day to the podcast and the talks. So I find it really valuable to hear what the coaches are thinking out there. I think there's a lot of great quality people in our sport, and so thanks for doing that, taking the time with the Trojans too, and come on out for some pancakes, Coleman. I'll make you some. We also got the kettle in Manhattan Beach. We got the pantry downtown. I don't know if you've ever been to the pantry. That's kind of a famous spot. You got to come out to the pantry. The kettle out in Manhattan Beach. It's nice because you can go have a team. Like we'll have a team workout on Saturday morning in Manhattan. Like we'll go out, we'll do some lifeguard training and do stuff like that. We'll do some open water. We'll hang out, and then we'll go to the kettle for breakfast. And we'll be going out to make sure we do a few spots.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.